It's that time of the day for you to get comfy, kick back, relax. You are now lounging with the Purples. Hey loungers, I am Candice.
And I'm Garth.
And you are Lounging with the Purples. Welcome back to our podcast and a warm welcome to all our new listeners. If you just stumbled across our podcast, please check out our Mixcloud page called The Purples to catch up on all our previous episodes with some awesome guests, such as DJ Reddy D, actress Leanne Van Roy, clothing brand Astro Drip, and Brainchild Media. And not forgetting, I even interviewed my own husband, Hef the chef.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was. You were very nervous, actually.
Yeah, I think it's the questions.
Was it?
Yeah, it's just something about your questions that will always make me nervous. But yeah.
So make sure to click on that subscribe button and also turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss any of our content.
That's right.
Yeah, we upload our podcast episodes on Mixcloud every Tuesday and the videos to YouTube every Friday. So follow us on Mixcloud and Instagram at Lounging with the Purples for all updates and announcements.
It's all about
real talk and facts. When you're lounging with the Purples podcast. Local podcasting is baie lekker. Kom praat met ons, kom lag met ons. En wat baie belangrik is, kom vertel ons jou storie op Lounging with the Purples.
from Cape Town, South Africa.
You are listening to my auntie and uncle on Lounging with the Purples.
We are so honored to have Suga lounging with us today.
Lekker.
Welcome to our lounge, Miss Sugafunk.
Hi guys. Oh wow, you've got a beautiful home.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
No?
It's such an honor to be here.
It's our pleasure. Thank you for saying yes. You know, it's always a thing. Even one of my colleagues said today, how is this possible? I said, all we do is ask.
Yeah.
You know, we ask. And I mean, how does it feel for you to be in the
On
hot
the
seat?
other side.
When Garth was talking about being nervous earlier when you were interviewing him, I was going, this is so going to be me today. I was interviewed one other time before, and I'll never forget it. It was on SAFM. And, you know, they put you in the green room, you know, like we do with all of our guests.
Yeah.
I have been the one to put the guests in the green room myself. And there I was in the green room. My palms are sweaty. And I'm just like, what is going on with you? You've done this like a million times. But definitely when you are on, you know, when you're in the hot seat, you know, and somebody's asking you questions, it can be really nerve-wracking. I think that really put me into the people that I'm interviewing. It put me into their shoes. So, you know, as you have done, you know, you put me absolutely at ease. So no more sweaty palms. I'm ready to go.
No, that's awesome. And you know, Suga, we just want to get to know you a little bit more. And the listeners also, you know, our podcast, we started the podcast based off music and entertainment. You know, you are in music, you're in entertainment, but we also know that you have a story to tell. And behind every public profile, there's a story. So we just want to get to know you. So thank you so much again.
Thank you for the
saying
invitation.
yes.
Thank
So
you.
in 2019, you were one of 8 ladies that was celebrated as a game changer through the Robben Island Museum. In fact, the group was called Fierce Future Females. And I want to quote the Robben Island Museum spokesperson that said at the time, "These women are showing us the way towards a society where women are equal to the men whom they work alongside every day." What did being named a game changer mean to you?
It actually meant everything to me because I think that's been part of my life's work. This is what I've been trying to do in my career since I started. You know, to be told one can't do something was never going to be easily accepted by me, ever. So to be honored by an organization like the Robben Island Museum was a game changer in my life because, and I've got so much respect for Robben Island, for what has happened there, and for the Robben Island Museum to keep that legacy alive. Also, in terms of being honored by the Robben Island Museum, I had one of my first live television experience was on Robben Island.
Wow.
We spent 3 days there and we were shooting a youth show. And I think that's really been how everything has happened. It's, this notion of getting thrown in the deep end and being sort of challenged. What are you going to do? Are you going to step up? Are you going to swim, or are you going to sink? And that's really been my motto. So to be honored as a game changer, it is so humbling. It is a great honor, and I just hope that there are other young women who look like me and sound like me, and maybe who don't look like me and sound like me, that are going to take up the challenge to try and change their world, which hopefully would change the wider world.
Yeah.
I think that's a real significance for me,
Now
of
also,
that honor.
We also speak about being the little, this world is a huge pond. And just one stone causes a ripple effect. And definitely you've been that one stone because you were the first female to ever have to host a morning breakfast show, and then also the first female in DJ in Cape Town to host your own drive show.
Yeah.
That is that is two big achievements. I mean, has it ever been done afterwards? I don't even know.
No.
Was it?
Not yet.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Not yet.
Yeah. And was it hard for you? Did you have to prove yourself? Because you are female. Like, how was there any pressure or unnecessary pressure? Let's put it that way. Unnecessary, just because you're female.
Yes, definitely, because it had never been done before. It was difficult, really, really difficult. I spent a year doing breakfast, even though I was really young, and I know that I needed to learn a lot more. That was a huge opportunity for me. Later on, when I got to experience the drive show for 6 years, that for me, at that point, I felt so ready for it. I felt, I'd been working my whole career for this. And so it was amazing to do it for 6 years. And
6 years is a long time.
6 years is a long time.
Yeah.
If I ask people, where were you 6 years ago?
Yeah.
And there I was, and I was hosting a drive show. In world of radio, you are chasing prime time for sure, but you are chasing breakfast and you are chasing drive. It's a milestone in your career. I still feel like I'm proving, like I have to prove myself.
Still
20 odd years later. But I love that challenge. I don't believe in standing still. I don't believe in, there are going to be challenges and there are going to be mountains put in your way. But, if you're relentless and you will get there. It'll take hard work and a lot of setbacks and a lot of disappointments. But to be able to say that I've done that is huge for me, and I feel very proud of it.
And your co-host, you guys were a ball of fun.
Yeah.
When fun was had, and then also the serious conversations. I remember I used to fetch Garth from work, and we would tune in, and you had an opinion, Jody had an opinion, Jeremy had an opinion, and I could picture you be like, spike down.
Too much excitement.
It's such an amazing dynamic, and that's something that you learn as well. You put into a situation where either, and you would have found it yourselves as well. You are two broadcasters, and finding the balance of, communicating nonverbal, cues and hand signals and all of that stuff. It's a different beast when it's more than one person in the studio, and that's such a fine dance that happens every day, and it comes with practice, and it's so important though, because we are individuals. we are going to come with our own opinions, and there are going to be times when we're not going to agree with each other, but that's what makes it real and what makes it relatable.
And that's what was
to
gripping
people
for 6 years, because obviously you kept Cape Town entertained, and your co-workers also obviously enjoyed working with you.
Yeah.
That's what lasted for 6 years.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun right from the time we started. Sort of the team had a couple of changes along the way, but I think we all came together, and at the end of the day, it was about putting forward the best show that we could every day, and it was an amazing experience.
Awesome,
amazing.
I was shocked when I was doing my research on you that every article that was written, there was always the reference to it's such a male-dominated industry, and I never realized it until we got you on. We got you here, and okay, now I must get my questions ready. Why do you think you were able to break barriers in this male-dominated industry?
I'm cheeky.
Good start.
I'm cheeky. Wow. I'm not sure how to answer that. I think yes, I'm very cheeky, and I didn't take no for an answer very easily. Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's maybe middle child syndrome?
Maybe. Maybe. I made the decision. This is what I wanted to do. This was my passion. I started it when I was at UCT. I wasn't supposed to be doing this. At the end of the day, I wanted to make my family proud. So if I was going to do this, I needed to do it, and I needed to be successful at it. Yeah. Failure was never an option for me, because back then as now, I just want to make my family proud of me. And I think that at the back of my mind, was certainly a driving force. And
I think also, coming from our background, our community, it's either you were studying, you were going to go into law, you become a lawyer, a doctor, these
teacher.
The big professions. Radio DJ is not on top of that list.
No.
So the drive to succeed and to make your family, and also I think you just found your passion.
Yeah, definitely.
And I read also that your first boss told you women don't belong on radio. Where does that guy get off?
Well, it's a funny story that, he's a lawyer now.
Wow.
We actually have a really good relationship now.
Shout out to the boss.
Yeah, shout out to the boss. Russell Warner. Peace. He's a very, very cool guy. Back then, though, I didn't think he was that cool. I was hanging out with a friend of mine at the radio station, and we fell into a conversation, and he said to me, women don't belong on radio because, you don't have the right voice pitch. You have a tendency to be irritating because, women have really high-pitched voices. So as I was sitting there, and I'll never forget, it was like this old leather couch at UCT Radio, still when it was above the Students' Union. And I sat on that leather couch, and it was during Freshers Week, which was where you could choose your society that you wanted to join. Okay. And I said to him, sorry, where's that form? If you were just passing around to all the guys, pass it here, please. I put my name down, and the next thing I know, I had a lunchtime show on UCT Radio. Yeah, and that's where it started. A couple of years ago, he emailed me. He doesn't live in South Africa anymore. He lives in Canada now. But he wanted to congratulate me on my long career.
Oh, that's awesome!
And that was pretty special.
And does he know how awesome your voice is? I mean, Julia Naidu is in love with Suga's voice.
I mean, that's such a compliment. Because that's the other thing. I hear myself. I still find it quite difficult to listen to myself. Going to listening sessions was always so nerve-wracking for me.
Wow.
My stomach could be in flips because, then they press play and they play back a link of yours, and I'm sitting in that chair and I'm cringing and I'm like, this is what the people are hearing? Why am I still in this job? But there's something that happens when it leaves my mouth.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's the same thing that I'm hearing that other people are hearing. So I'm also very humbled by that compliment.
No, pleasure. Sugar, there was one show you did, and you were on Good Hope FM, and I couldn't wait to tune in. I think it was on a Wednesday night.
Pillow Talk.
Yes. Now, Pillow Talk came out at a time when sexual liberation for females was finally being embraced. And I was a very inquisitive person. So I was telling Garth in the kitchen here, we had a radio. And at that time, I think it used to come on 8 o'clock or something. Yeah. That was my time to do the dishes. And I would switch the radio on because I want to hear about climaxing and cheese spots and all those things. And that was pretty progressive for you,
very much,
for a radio station to have. How did that conversation go with the bosses when you pitched it to them?
Well, you see, luckily for me, I had the incredible Dr. Eve who could do all the talking for me. So that's how it started. It started out as a radio show, and Dr. Eve had pitched that show, and she came on my show, and that's how it happened. And then it progressed further because then SABC3 had heard about it, and all of a sudden there was a TV show that was filmed during a radio show, and so our radio studio got transformed every Wednesday into the Pillow Talk set. So we had these windows, and they literally had made these custom sort of inserts to put into the windows of our studio to create the Pillow Talk TV studio. And there was a team of people in our green room, people sitting with monitors. I mean, it was amazing. There was a camera on the tracks, behind my chair. And this happened every Wednesday. They set it up and they broke it down at the end of the show. It was mind-blowing. And it was so innovative.
Innovative.
You see, that was really what I wanted to be part of. I wanted to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Totally innovate the space, radio, TV, doing it together. Now that we're digital and we can do this, can you imagine how excited I am now? The fact that I can do my radio show from my lounge. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Wow. So that it just because people embraced it,
People did. I was into it. I was so into it.
Yeah, and every topic that we had, there were people that contributed. It was amazing, and I think to have been a part of that, also times in media they were changing. So for my bosses, the innovation was the thing that got them excited. The fact that we could do all of this while a radio show is happening and then have that same radio show translate into a TV show. It was amazing, an amazing experience. I learned a lot.
I can imagine.
And not just from Dr. Eve. I learned a lot from her too.
Yeah, but it was so interesting. I'll never forget, just tuning in and hearing these things that, as a young woman, you question your body and you're wondering why you're so inquisitive, and it was really, really such a nice show. There was one season of it on TV, right? Yeah. And Sugar, so my next question I want to ask, and this is because you said you're cheeky, you don't take no for an answer, right? So in this male-dominated industry, what in your opinion should change for women to be more present on radio, or do you think that women should demand an opportunity to be on radio? Because there's a lot of women that are good presenters that want to be on radio, but
it's not given the chance.
Yeah, they're not given the chance. Well, in your opinion,
I definitely think that women should try and step up a lot more when they're given the opportunity. Once again, if somebody's in an industry like ours where it's nothing is guaranteed. So, if you get the opportunity, you've got to grab it. You've got to grab it and run with it. And I think more women putting up their hands or even at the small opportunity to get the foot in the door. And then after that work, damn hard and, grab every single opportunity. Somebody the other day said to me, I think these young women are struggling with confidence. And it was somebody else saying it. And I knew the young women that they were talking about, and I was like, the confidence is not the problem here. There is a lot of confidence there, but once there is an opportunity, then you've got to grab it. You can't say, oh, I'm not ready, because you don't know
whether
you take that opportunity.
Yeah, and then once you're there, then it's not about faking it until you make it. It's about deciding you're working at it, and you are going to develop yourself, and you are going to practice, and you are going to do it until you feel good enough. And the fact that all of these things, I hadn't done it before, and I was so nervous that, the first couple of times, but you've got to do it. My mom always says to me, if you've got a chance to sit it out, I hope you'll dance. And I always hear that when I'm faced with a choice. Or am I gonna sit it out, or am I gonna dance? I'm gonna dance, because this is the opportunity that's been given. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I know that I've tried. That for me is the thing. I've got to know that I've tried. And I think, yes, and I think also I wish there could be a lot more opportunities. Our industry is really small, so. It comes back to if you're given the opportunity, because it's so small, you got to grab it and you got to grow with it. Go with it and grow with it. You've got to develop yourself. You've got to diversify, and so that you become an asset. And
I also think nothing is an excuse. There's hardly any excuses now. So maybe you're not on the radio station, but start a podcast like we started. We're not radio people.
Oh, definitely not.
He said times on stage and things. He knows about I never forget. Whenever I go on stage, or when I was small, I always used to forget my lines. But now I'm enjoying this. And you spoke about when you're given an opportunity. You were given an opportunity. You went to audition. You were given opportunity to do the graveyard shift. So for those who don't know what a graveyard shift is, that is literally between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. Yes. My colleague also I always like to ask my assistant, just to read my questions if it makes sense. And she said, what's a graveyard shift? I said, that's when people are not working. People are sleeping. You took the bull by the horns and you went with it. And look where you are today.
My poor father.
Did you have to?
I couldn't drive. I didn't have a driver's license at that stage. And I would go to sleep. I would go to sleep at 9 o'clock, and I would wake up at midnight. And my poor father would have to take me from my home to Sea Point, to the SABC studios. He would then drive home again, southern suburbs, and fetch me again at 6.
Why do we complain for your dad in the studio?
I love you, Dad. I love you, Dad.
So like a couch miskien of iets.
And then still have to go to varsity sometimes. When I started,
you were writing.
I was writing exams. I started in October of 1997, and I had to write my exams. So that was how it was for me. I graduated. I worked 2 to 6 in the morning. Went home, showered, and then went back to university to my graduation. That was how it was back then.
Wow,
for me.
So it's southern suburbs, Sea Point, southern suburbs, Rondebosch. Wow, how did you manage?
I don't know. I don't know. It's just something that I needed to do.
But you had the support of your father. I think that's also important.
Definitely.
Like your dreams, they believed in you. Like, okay, I'm going to do this for my girl.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
I love my dad. I owe you, Dad, big time.
Dis maar baie. En petrol geld ook. Alle petrol.
my last question before we go to break.
Yeah.
In an interview with IOL in 2017, you mentioned that before you landed the drive show on Hot FM, you never had any producers. You flew solo. Is this the norm?
Yes. For shows that are, and I think we've been really lucky at Heart to have producers in those shows, but it wasn't always like that even at Heart, and other shows. Yeah, I never had a producer before.
So what would a producer do, just to put into context for the listeners?
You know, for example, in a busy drive show, it's amazing to have a producer's support because there's so much happening in the show. You know, it's like he or she is an extension. It's another set of arms. You know, if there's a lot of interviews that need to be lined up, if they're in another studio and they're able to line up the calls, that they're able to fire you information if you need information very quickly. They are literally in charge of how everything plays out. You know, obviously you sit down and there's a plan, but they make sure that whatever plan you've come up with, your plan gets delivered and gets executed. And if you're doing it alone, then you're doing it alone and you're doing all of that yourself. So I collect content all the time. I don't have my book with me because I don't have my other bag with me, but I carry around literally old school hardcover book. It's like this big. And I got a pen and I'm always writing stuff down. So I also, over the years, I subscribe to content sites and I do a lot of reading just so that I've always got stuff, And having a producer is also great. You can bounce ideas off. Because sometimes, I would get stuck in my head and I would be convinced this is a great idea and it will work and then it won't. Because you haven't thought about this, that. Yeah, the producer listens with a different ear and is able to offer advice. And especially if, I was so lucky with the producer of the Drive show because he had a incredible background. He understands radio. He understands every aspect of radio. He was on radio. He was in management in radio. I'd worked with him many times before, and he just gets it. He just gets it. And now I'm really happy as well. Very fortunate to be working with the producer that I'm working with now. It's an amazing asset, to have somebody and you can bounce things off and you can communicate about the show and, you have an idea of where the show is going. It's great to have that support.
Nice. So before you were doing the talking, you were doing the levels, you were doing...
Yeah, but I do that all the time, always. I've got to touch my own buttons.
Wow.
I can't have other people pressing my buttons for me. I need to press my buttons. I need to press my buttons. So if I was you, Candice, I wouldn't allow that. What's happening there?
I don't know what is going on here.
I think she'll probably mute as well.
Yeah.
Because when we were live on our show, it was difficult for me, because so besides Lounge with the Pummels, we have Island Rock Studio, music studio, and then I have my day job, and then he had his day job. It was difficult to, just to think of content. And I take my hat off to it, because you guys are on every day. And it's interesting every day.
Sometimes it's, we also, it's sometimes it's a hit, sometimes it's a miss. But it's also about, and this is also something that I've learned over the years, you can't take something and take it from there. You've got to think about it. You've got to, maybe change it a little bit, or you've got to, localize it, or so, those things are just ideas to spark off.
Of the next conversation.
The next conversation. And that's what happens, you start off with one thing and you've got an idea in your head, and then it'll take a turn, and then all of a sudden the conversation has moved on. But that's the exciting thing about it, it's exciting.
So we actually, or not we actually, my husband actually did a song called Pillow Talk. So we're going to take a break so you can wet your throat a little.
Okay,
and then we'll come back with part 2.
Lovely stuff.
Local podcasting is baie lekker. Kom praat met ons, kom lag met ons. En wat baie belangrik is, kom vertel ons jou storie op Lounging with the Pearls.
Hi loungers, welcome back to our show. Thanks for sticking by and staying tuned. We are still in studio with the lovely Suga. She's just cute.
Ek sê mos vir almal die op ons show, Suga, ek hoop jy is gereed om Janevel te maak. Daar's 'n klomp skorrelgoed wat wag vir jou in die kombuis.
I'm very good at
Ek kan
washing
weer
dishes.
'n koppie koffie maak terwyl jy besig is en dan ek sal afdroog, moenie worry nie.
And I'll pack away.
Yeah, no, I'm really good at doing dishes, guys. I mean, that was my radio listening. You know, you said you used to listen to Pillow Talk
Yes.
and used to wash the dishes.
Yeah.
Now, washing the dishes was my job.
Oh.
And so 6 o'clock, Lee Downs was on from
Okay.
6 until 10. That was the time I needed to do the dishes. Believe me, the dishwashing expedition took 2 hours. Yes.
Yeah. Why are you taking so long? Now I'm listening to the radio.
Yep, same. Same.
Sugar, you are bubbly. And you bubbly every single day on the radio. And I'm sure you alluded to this earlier on, you know, like women have, you know, the off days. And I'm sure you also have your days. But how do you keep your bubbliness bubbling so? I mean,
somebody asked me the same question the other day. In fact, that question gets asked so often, you know, every day. Somebody's like, why are you so happy? You know, I feel blessed. I woke up this morning. I got to see my son today. That makes me very happy. And yeah, it's as simple as that.
nice.
I'm blessed to be here. So you're going to have to deal with my bubbliness.
And I mean,
Yeah, man.
everyone always speaks about your infectious laugh, and you do. You were saying, you know, to us about when you listen to yourself, you don't hear what the audience hears, but no, you really have a voice for radio, and I mean, it's really lovely listening to you. I grew up listening to you and so many others in Cape Town, so keep being so bubbly.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I listened to your interview that you did with Robin Thicke. You guys sound like you are old friends. Did you just like WhatsApp him and say like, Robin, you know, I
Yeah,
want you on
Robin,
my show?
Let's chat.
No.
Did you listen
Never.
to it again?
I listened to it only when it played out
Okay.
on air. I didn't know it was going to go like that. I didn't send him any questions. He didn't ask for any questions.
Wow.
I just talked to him, you know, and he was lovely.
He was.
He was
so open.
he was
wasn't-
magnificent.
Yes, he was so open and he answered your questions, and it really sounded, because I asked God, did you see this interview? And he said no. And I told him, they sound like two old friends just having a chat, and it was really lovely to listen to.
That was just the way that it came about. Thank you.
Yeah.
Firstly, the way that it came about was also wow. We knew that he was dropping a new single, and they sent me the single and they said, you know, do you want to be the first one to play it? And I was like, hell yes, I want to be the first one to play it. And they were like, okay, well, you know, there might be some interviews, but I never get my hopes up because you just don't know how it's going to go. And they came back at the beginning of, I think, the previous week, or the beginning of that week, and they said he's doing the Sowetan, and he wants to do one radio interview, and we've submitted your name. Then the record company is happy with it, and I was like, okay. Still didn't get excited at that point. And then they were like, okay, the same day he's doing the Sowetan, he might do you. And then it was, it is you. The record company, and he's agreed, and it's going to be you. And then it didn't happen that day. And I was like, oh, here we go. Here we go. And then I got another message that was like, it's on. And then I got another message an hour later. It's definitely 100% on. And then another message an hour later, 110, 50,000% on.
And then your hands got sweaty.
And then my hands got sweaty. And I'm sitting there in my lounge and I'm like, you are about to speak to Robin Thicke. Just be cool. Whatever you do, just be cool. And he was absolutely lovely. So I had nothing to worry about. Because, you know, he's a superstar. And I am I respect the people that I interview. I do approach it because I'm also a muso. So I respect the work, but I respect them as human beings. And I've realized that if I am just me, then the results are that much better.
Yeah, because then you give them the freedom to be them, just them, you know.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, you won't say that he was on a press tour, so to speak, because he spoke to you as if it was the first time that he was speaking about his album and his song. I remember listening to the radio when you actually played the song, and this is actually very good.
Thank you.
It's not like his previous music, you know, and he actually spoke about it, you know, with Blurred Lines. He had this one hit, and now you need to follow up and follow up and follow up. And I think he got a bit lost in between,
He
and
did.
now he came back just true to himself.
Yeah, and I think that was really it, the honesty, you know, when he himself, and that's what I did, you know, in the days leading up. I will watch every interview, same like you, you know, the research. I will read everything. I will watch a 13-year-old Robin Thicke and his dad Alan Thicke, and him on the set of Growing Pains, and him rapping very badly.
Okay, I must go check that out.
You must. It's on YouTube. You know, and the fact that he himself said he got lost. He after Blurred Lines, he got, you know, lost in the money and the fame and the women and the drugs, and here was a person that went went through what we all go through, and loss, and the last 7 years, and I could so relate to him, because we've all made mistakes in life, and we've all had to somehow kind of come to terms with what we have done in our lives, to forgive ourselves and to move on. And yeah, that resonated with me so in such a deep way that I think it
came across in the interview.
That was definitely one of my best.
Yeah.
Plus, he said I made his day, which is just what?
But that's why.
What?
That's why my question is here.
I mean, it's romantic.
Exactly.
Are you serious?
And I mean, you interviewed some pretty big name people in your
I've been so lucky.
career.
I've been so lucky.
I mean, Will
so
Smith,
lucky. He was such
Nelson
a gem.
Mandela.
So cool.
How was that?
He smelled just like my grandfather.
Oh,
And he gave the best hug ever.
oh,
I'll never forget that day. It's a definite highlight in my life, for sure.
I can just imagine.
Yeah.
And I mean, even that concert took you around the world.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I met so many of my heroes. Musical
Oprah.
pardon?
You met Oprah also.
I met Oprah. Got a picture with Oprah. She also gives great hugs. I've hugged everybody, okay? Believe that. Peter Gabriel, you know, walking into the airport with Peter Gabriel, you know, I mean, just wow. Being told to stand on stage, backstage, and stand on the X, and you know, there's Brian May with the hair and the guitar, like walking past you, you know, and there's Beyonce's sister and mother sitting, you know, over there, and I'm walking over here, and Beyonce's going to come up through the stage floor where I was just walking. I mean, it just blew my mind, and I feel really blessed to have had those experiences.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you also an MC.
Yes.
How do you prepare for an Yes. To go
It's like
on
one of the most
stage.
difficult jobs ever.
Yeah.
Cheers.
I don't know what happens.
You just sit in the chair, hair, makeup.
Something happens, and then, yeah, somebody tells the story of me with a really, really strange-looking hat at a Fanta Fat Jam at the Three Arts Theatre in Plumstead.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was like one of my first times on stage. And I had this big hat, black and white hat. I don't know, something happened to me. So when I'm on stage, I don't think of anything else. And I can't remember half the things when I come off stage. I can't remember what I said because I'm just in that moment, and I don't know what happens.
Focused.
But it's just and I think it's being able to have those opportunities and to walk stages with those kinds of artists that I don't know. It's something that happens to me. But it's a absolute happy place for me.
Awesome.
I love it.
Awesome. So besides being a super mom to Nelson,
Oh, thanks.
that's a baby
trying.
boy. He's not a baby anymore.
He's
He's
6,
growing.
going on 35.
Groot man, ja. Mommy, no man.
You are also an accomplished radio show host. You are also an accomplished dance and club DJ. And then, you didn't know this,
Oh, another secret.
you are also a qualified chef.
Oh, yeah.
How
Gee whiz.
That
did
happened.
this come about? Have you always wanted to tick this off your bucket list?
No.
No.
It's a very, very interesting story,
Please
that one.
do tell our loungers.
So, so for the longest time, I couldn't cook. And it was quite a joke amongst my friends and I. I used to work at Woolworths. I love Woolworths.
I also used to work at Wolves.
Yeah, it's best, one of the best companies. Love them. And they used to help me out in the fact that I could not cook because they still have these beautiful meals that say microwave in 4 minutes.
Yes, just
those
pierce the
ones.
floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was my vibe, and then I started thinking about the world was changing, technology was changing, the social media was happening. And I'm always thinking about adding another skill.
Okay.
Because first it was radio, voiceovers, DJing, stage work, documentary voiceovers, all of these things that I mentioned earlier. You've got to keep growing, you've got to diversify, you've got to become an asset. And I'm always thinking about that. So I decided I was going to go and study it because I wanted to add that skill to my skill set because multimedia is such a thing and social media and combining music and food, it's something that's such a part of my life. Maybe not so much the food bit in the beginning, but definitely the music bit.
Probably eating it.
Probably eating it, yeah. So I just made the decision that I wanted to. But also, then over the years, when I would do radio show, I would come home and I would, just to calm my mind, I picked up a knife and the methodical cutting and chopping, it just calmed me. So it was that together with the fact that I wanted another skill, and then I went to investigate schools and half of them didn't come back to me because they were like, "What the hell are you thinking? You're a DJ and what are you doing?" But Capsicum didn't. They came back the next day, and the next week I was having a tour, and they understood what I wanted to do, and then I went to the bank and I got a student loan, and I went back to study, and
Wow.
and then I fell pregnant with Nelson.
Okay.
So they put me out of school. They put me out of the kitchen. And I went back when he was 4, and I finished my diploma in food preparation and cooking, and I passed my exams. And
So now those same friends, they come around all the time and you need to cook them food.
yes.
Okay.
And is it fine dining or is it just,
find
like
that there
chicken
is,
that is now just maybe with a little je ne sais quoi.
yeah, and it's still about the taste for me. It's
Okay.
always been about creating beautifully tasting food. So, I don't know if I'm ever going to be like a fine dining chef. I mean, plating is wow, and I love to learn about plating and things like that. But I want to create wholesome food. I want to create food that brings people together, and that's not really pretentious, but also exploring different taste profiles. But mostly it's about the bringing together of people around a table, which food does so well, and with the addition of music, it's a beautiful thing. So yeah, I'm still also not. People are asking me, "Are you going to open a restaurant?" I don't know.
You don't know. You just we don't know.
No.
We just don't know what the
Exactly.
universe has planned.
Exactly.
What is Nelson's favorite dish that you make for him?
Hamburgers.
And we're not talking about McDonald's.
No.
It's mommy's.
Because now because I mean he's a young boy, he likes the vibe, but I now I'm experimenting with making my own burger patties and hiding stuff in there, the veggies and things.
Yes.
Yeah, and just as and it's so cool. I'm teaching him about herbs and things. So and I'll say, would you like some of this? Would you like some rocket or whatever? And he'll say, yeah, he'll try it. So I'm loving that.
And it's like the bonding session for you guys too.
Yeah.
Sweet.
He
Right?
helps me with baking though. He's
Okay.
the whisker and the stirrer. Yeah, when it comes to
good.
baking stuff. Yeah.
Oh, what do you bake? Like everything
Muffins
was
and cakes and things. Yeah.
Have you got the whole chef jacket and?
Well, I've got my uniform.
Okay.
I've still got my school uniform, and I went to get. I had some extra ones because I actually worked in a restaurant for 3 months. While I was doing drive.
Wow.
Wow.
What else do you do?
Only on this show you can have so much secrets from one person.
I mean, I had to drive all the way to Durbanville. I started in fact, the chef there allowed me to start at 8 or at 9.
Night.
No, in the morning. Because I would have to take my son to school
Yes.
in Rondebosch.
I think I'll
From the southern suburbs. Take him to school in Rondebosch. Drive from Rondebosch to Durbanville. Work in the restaurant from there until midday. Leave there. Go and fetch my son from school at 1 o'clock. Drop him at his aftercare, and then go to the studio
In Greenpoint.
to do my show. Some days I'd walk in there with my uniform and my industrial shoes and my chef's hat, and it would be really funny for my colleagues. But that was my life for 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
You are one determined lady. But
Yeah.
that is so, sometimes I also...
And I'd work on weekends as well in the restaurant.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
Jeebus.
Sundays, Saturdays.
She was, so I last week I had a bit of a anxiety attack because nothing was going according to plan. My day job was keeping me so busy. I had to prep for our guest. It was crazy. And then Garth was like, okay, babe, must we reschedule? And then I thought, no, man, if other women can do this, they have kids. I don't have a child. What is my excuse? And just then I just like, I'm going to do
Let's
this.
do it.
And yeah. So that's actually a very good lesson for like the other questions I asked you about women. If you get an opportunity, take it. Do whatever you need to do to make it happen for you. Like you said, you don't know where your chef's hat is going to take you.
Yeah.
But I know in 2019, you teamed up with Baz Newman, who is celebrity pastry chef and food stylist.
Yes.
And you guys came up with Baz and Sugar Food Adventures.
Yeah.
And I mean, I watched some episodes. Yes, Tell us about that.
You see, that was a conversation that started out about music and food.
Wow.
Literally. In fact, it was Jody. Jody invited me to an event where Bass was. It was his event. But Jody had gotten invited and I was her plus one. So
Okay.
I went with her. She left. She went home. I was still there with him because we got to talking about music and food, and I wanted to do something around it, and then we teamed up to just try it. Also, we had no idea, we had no budget. The first couple of episodes that we did when we went to Suga,
Yes.
and we did the Steenberg Wine Farm. We funded those episodes ourselves. We were a group of 4. It was myself, Bass, Kelly, and Alex, and that was our team. It was only when Cape Nature when Cape Nature came on board that it became like a real thing. They were our clients, and we were producing those Cape Nature videos for them. It's been an amazing learning curve. Bass is incredibly talented, and I love the fact that here was this young guy. I mean, Bass is so dynamic. He's young. He's cool.
That's
you
cool.
know, and he wanted to work with me, and I just thought, wow, that's so cool. So that was an incredible experience.
Is there a season 2 coming?
We hope so. I mean, Bass is also really busy. He's back doing his own series now called Bakes with Bass.
Okay.
So hopefully there'll be another opportunity for us to do something around Bass and Sugar's food adventures.
Yeah, let's get
That would
Baz
be cool.
on the show.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
He's so talented.
No, he is. It's so stylish.
Yes.
So stylish. Sugar, we speak about females' opportunities, the fact that you are so determined. And I just feel, Garth and I have this conversation all the time that the youngsters, or the younger generations, put it that way, they don't understand that it takes so much hard work to make a success of your life. And, success means different things to different people. You said you were 19 or 18 when you got your first job at Good Hope?
I was 21.
21. You were literally thrown in.
Yeah.
Yeah. What piece of advice would you give the younger generation that you wish you were given when you were 21? Especially in the context of radio.
I would have told myself that it's going to take a lot of hard work, even though I knew that. I think I would have needed to be told again, because just backtracking a little bit when you talk about that almost instant gratification, or they wanted to be a success overnight, or I think about that often. It's 24 years almost for me in the radio industry, and I still feel like I have to I have to work hard. It's taken 24 years to get to this point, and I still think that I've got so much more to give and to learn and to experience. I also would have tried not to make some of the mistakes that I've made, you know. But I'm also happy that I've made those mistakes, because you have to learn from your mistakes. And if I had known, maybe at 21, that there would be consequences, those kinds of consequences for my actions, I would have thought better. But you only do better when you know better. So
True.
It's a difficult one.
Yeah.
You got to go through it. You've got to go through the ups and the downs, and there have been major ups and there have been major downs, you know. But they've taught me something.
Yeah.
And they've definitely reinforced the fact that everything has a consequence. So you might not think about it now, but there's always a bigger picture. And I can kick myself now. When I look back and I'm
Same.
like, what were you thinking?
No, same.
Really?
But in that moment, then you want to go like, where can I hide?
Yes.
Like, did I do that? Yes, you did. And thank goodness, thank goodness there wasn't this sort of
There wasn't social
phone
media.
culture. And, wow.
Yes,
Gosh,
yes.
I would have,
You would have been cancelled.
I would have been cancelled long ago. Yep. That cancel culture would have got me.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful that I've been able to make my mistakes a little bit away from.
Discreetly.
Wow. So I think it's a very interesting question because I think also as you get into it, you're dealing with different life concepts or life events or life circumstances, and I just would have. Maybe would have told myself to be a little bit more thoughtful about where I was. And for example, when I started, all that money that was, I could have made a little bit better choices, wiser choices then. I could have, gotten into property a lot sooner. And, I maybe couldn't have bought so many cars. And, why was I buying so many cars? Things like that. So,
So I think to sum up what you just said now is listen to the younger generation. Listen to your OGs.
Yeah.
We call ourselves the OGs now.
Yeah.
Listen to your OGs. We've gone through the mistakes so that you guys can learn from it. But I think the younger generation, I call it the microwave generation. I mean, even with us, we sometimes want things to progress faster because we know it can, but then it doesn't. And then it's like, okay, maybe there's a reason why. So, if you want to be a radio presenter, and you are thinking that it must come instantly, because I mean, look at social media, it lies. It creates this facade that things just happen just like that, and it's not. It's a picture, and it's made to look a certain way so that you can think a certain way, but it's not. There's such a lot of hard work that goes behind the scenes. So if you want to be a radio presenter, then research Suga, research Irma-G, research Lee Downs, research these people so that okay, this is actually the hard work that needs to be put in.
Yeah. I mean, when I went for my audition, it was so awful. I was awful, and they told me that.
What?
Yeah, in 3 weeks later, they called Irma and I into the office. We sat next to each other, literally. Irma and I next to each other, and they were like, Irms, you still okay, You were right, Irms.
Wow.
But they were like, and I remember that audition like it happened yesterday. I was shocking. I forgot everything that I knew
and
prepared for. I still took my buddy with me. Her name is Leslie Ann. Hi, Leslie Ann. Love you, babe. She's still in my life, and she's still a huge supporter. But I'll never forget that. And they told me I was terrible. The words that he used was, your audition sucked.
Straightforward.
Sucked.
Have you ever thought of...
But what changed for them?
But, you see, then there was a but that came after that. But he said, I'll never forget it. He was like, but I hear something there. You are very rough. Totally unpolished.
a little motivation.
And that for me was like, I can't go out like this. And literally that's how they decided which part of the week Irma and I were going to do.
Okay.
So because Irma had KFM experience, she got the first part of the week, and I got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay.
So so she had more experience than me. She did have more experience than me, but we got our job on the same day.
Wow.
They called us into the office together.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I mean, that friendship is like 20 odd years now.
Yeah, it's literally,
if not more.
It's literally 24 years, because we met in 1997.
Sure.
Is that 24 years?
And you guys are both, I mean, in your own right, game changers.
Yeah,
Really.
Irms is an inspiration to me. She is one strong woman, and she has got such an incredible voice. You know, like I am gaga over his voice.
She's a very strong person.
Yeah.
Because I can remember back in the day at Westgate Mall, and then she used to be there. You know, you step into Westgate Mall and you hear this lady's voice. Like,
In that little
yes,
box.
in the little box
Yeah.
by the stage.
Yeah.
So, wow. It's a long time.
Incredible.
So talking about long time, Sugar, you've had a very long and successful, in my eyes at least, career in radio. You know, you said you feel you still have so much to do. But what I want to know, and this is how we're going to close off, what has been your recipe, your mantra, your motto that has kept you going?
Sink or swim.
Sink or swim.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And if you're going to swim, you must do the butterfly in a double Olympic size swimming pool.
Sure.
That is it. Are you going to sink or are you going to swim?
And that keeps you going.
That keeps me going.
Every day.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Sugafunk. Wait, tell me, how did that name come about? Wait, I can't go without it.
Knowing where Sugafunk comes from.
Sugafunk. Yeah. There is a story around it. So I was doing the graveyard shift. That show was called The Afterglow. Don't ask me why. It was called The Afterglow. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Maybe because it was 2 to 6 in the morning. And I'll never forget one of my drops was, because back then I was still brown sugar, right? So
Yes.
So Rob Vega.
Yes.
Remember him? So he does a drop for me and goes like this. When brown sugar gets hot, you get sticky. So 7 months later, so they gave me 9 to 12 in the morning. So obviously Afterglow wasn't going to work well there. So I needed to come up with another name. And so I called the show Sugafunk.
Okay.
And it just stuck. Even though after that I changed shows and then I went in the evening and then came back to lunchtime and then got to breakfast. That was different, obviously. But for that first 9 to 12, I think I was there for maybe 2 years or 3 years at Good Hope. The show is called Sugafunk.
Okay.
And then I met DJ Dino Bravo.
Yes.
From Johannesburg, and he used to work on Fresh's show and Glenn Lewis's show on Metro. And Dino is such an amazing person. You know, Dino assisted me with getting my first digital equipment, my first controller, my first 2 controllers. He got me, helped me set up my speakers. He literally helped me move from lugging all my CDs around to the different gigs, to working with a controller and all of that. And he was like, you should register that name, you know, it should be like your vibe. And so I thought, okay, so Sugafunk Productions. And so that's been around for years. And every time I needed to find, then social media happened, yes, sugar's always taken. So, and Sugafunk's not. So that's really how it's just always stayed in my life.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's been there for many years.
I actually forgot about the brown sugar one. Yes, I remember now. Yeah.
I was brown sugar first before sugar.
Yes. You still a whole lot of brown sugar. Sugar, thank you so much. We have officially run out of time now. Thank you. This was so wonderful. I mean, I've learned so much about you. I remember things that I thought I forgot. And we wish you well with your career. and being mommy and, just being the great friend that you are. And yeah, thank you so much. I just want to let everybody know that Suga can be heard on Heart FM 104.9 every day on Mornings with Suga between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. And please go show some love to her on Instagram at Suga and on Facebook also at Suga. Thank you from Garth and
Dis
I.
'n klomp suiker, né?
Ja, dat klopt. Is baie
Om
soet.
soetheid.
Thank you, guys. This is absolutely awesome. Thank you, Garth. Thank you, Candice.
No, pleasure.
pleasure.
And until next time, loungers, bye-bye.
Kick back and relax. You are lounging with the Pummels.